Welcome back to another episode of the Bryan podcast. On today's show, an Airlink review. My key takeaways from AviaDev 2022 held in the mother city.
We're going to dive into the travel chaos in Europe at the moment. There's more exam options for pilots to write EASA exams in South Africa, and we're going to talk about the extra pay for pilots in the USA during the summer travel period.
Lastly, how much money would you accept to take a delayed flight in the States? As always, the show is sponsored by Bryan and
Ryan.
Hope you enjoyed today's show. Hi, Paul.
Good. And you, Cuz. Running starts.
Thanks for sorting things out last week with a bit of a video there to tell people what the hell was going on. I do apologize. The plan was to release a show. But between me being in Cape Town, you being here, the different load shedding schedules for Cape Town and Johannesburg, to try and tie those in between how busy I was there and how busy you were here was near impossible. So Ryan got hold of me on, I think, Thursday evening and said, listen, pal, we better tell people that there's a show that's not going to go out. So I put this video together and thanks for that. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. I mean, like we said, it was immensely difficult last week. It was quite challenging. I mean, sitting there on my ace, I thought, well, I better put something out and record a video by myself. But you know me, I'm not exactly one take Roosevelt. So there was about 10 attempts there to put something together, but it was fun nevertheless. And but yeah, I'm just happy to be back in the studio today, and things feel like they're back to normal.
Do they?
Well,
so what's going on here?
a bit more normal than they were last week.
If you are watching the video, you'll notice we've got some new tech in the studio, and if you're listening to the audio,
it should sound a whole lot better.
So Ryan and I have invested in the podcast, but we bought a nice Rodecaster Pro 2, which is the best mixer you can get.
Yeah,
by far.
Yep.
And the most expensive as well. But nonetheless, it's we are underutilizing its capability at the moment because there's a lot to learn.
There's a lot to learn. It's not exactly a simple piece of kit to get your brain around. I mean,
it's a serious piece of kit.
We've been at this for quite a while, and there's a lot of wizardry going on there. But I suppose that's what makes things more fun for you and I is getting into this and experimenting more and pushing the show to a greater
another level.
Mm.
One of the things John reminded me when I saw him this week was that whole, that talk about incremental gains.
Yeah,
that was like a hot topic with us. Try and improve a little bit. And, you lose sight of those things every now and again. So this is part of that investment into making that improvement. And hopefully week by week, we'll get the sound better and better because we can tweak things. So let us know what you think. But hopefully it's an improvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Facing each other as well.
Yeah, different setup in the studio. We've reorganized the desk. We've got different things going on in the desk, the background slightly different.
Ultimately, the plan is we are going to move into a slightly bigger, more, how can I say, purposeful studio. And this will sort of be the setup facing each other. And I think just so far when we've been practicing in that, facing each other definitely aids in the conversation because we're actually talking to each other, where before sort of looking at a camera and you looking off to the side, and we're trying to, it helps.
I think so too, especially for a little bit of microphone technique.
Yes.
When you're moving from side to side, you get that different audio sort of experience, and this just makes it a bit better.
Yeah.
The conversation's a bit more easier now.
It is. You'll see a few more little tweaks. The Bryan Air 3.0. So we're into, 2019 it got going. So the one or two little tweaks to the branding and that as well that you'll pick up in the coming weeks. But let's get into it, Ryan. Lots of news this week. I've got a lot to chat about.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we've got to catch up from last week, and
We actually haven't spoken about it.
we haven't. I did mention on the video that we sent out last week that I was very keen to hear about your experience. I mean, first of all, tell me, what was it like to travel now around SA mask-free and on Airlink for the first time?
Well, the mask-free situation is
Liberating.
is
Has to
is
be.
just awesome. I mean, it really made a massive difference.
Yeah.
And I think let's get into it right away and chat about it, because the purpose of me going on Airlink was actually to say, well, we worked at Saks for so long, so we positioned on SAA most of the time, sometimes Mango. Sort of post leaving Saks, I've flown mostly on FlySafair, and I like FlySafair. I mean, they've been my go-to airline for so long.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant. We've spoken about them a lot on the show, and we've punted them a lot on the show as well. So we thought, let me go and fly on Link and go and see what not what the fuss is all about, but let's have a different view here.
I wondered, sorry, I mean, to ask a quick question there as well, is why you opted for Airlink. And I was because I'm so used to you traveling down to Cape Town on FlySafair. Was it because of the price, or was it just the timing, or was it purely because?
No, look, I thought about it. Most of the time, I did go on Safair, and I think that's why a lot of travelers go on a particular airline, is because they went on that airline last time.
Yeah, and it worked.
So you just, I'll just go with Safair. I know what the website's like, and it's easy. They've got my details are saved on the system there.
So it's comfortable.
It's comfortable, and you just go on Safair.
Yeah.
When I travel again, I will be going on Airlink.
Really, hey?
Yeah, it was legit.
That adamant about it, huh?
Yeah, there's a few key little things there. Look, it's a full-service airline, and when you get onto their website is at first a little bit off-putting, certainly for me, not because of the design of the website. It's simply because they got so many more options. They fly to so many destinations, so it can't be as simple as, where are you going, Cape Town or Durban?
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on the actual website. So I was flying with a colleague that came in from France. We were quite tight on time. We had a rather busy schedule in Johannesburg before we left, and a busy schedule in Cape Town. And the big thing, Ryan, was I needed to get to Cape Town on time. You ask also, why did I travel on Lincoln? When you need to go somewhere on time, you really do get two airlines in the front of your mind, Airlink and Safair.
Yeah.
Airlink are ahead of Safair at the moment, ever so slightly in terms of on-time performance. They have been for a few years. So Airlink very much known as this on-time performance airline. Roger Foster alluded to it, and when he was talking there at AviaDev, he uses it as a performance, something to gauge their performance. Their on-time performance is what they use to see how well they're doing. And rightly so, because it's a major thing to look at. And Ryan, I traveled down last Wednesday, woke up in the morning, and before I got up, well, I heard my phone beep just as I was about to get up, and there was a message saying, your flight to Cape Town, flight number XYZ is at gate, whatever, Charlie 9, I think.
They told you where the gate is?
Yeah, it was 7 o'clock in the morning or something. My flight was at 12:30 in the afternoon.
And they knew what gate you were at?
They knew what gate we were at.
No way.
And I had a real smirk because... and I don't mean to run our previous airline down by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, at SA Express, how often were you driving around in the crew transport trying to find your aeroplane? Because they didn't know. They told you it's at, Charlie 9, and then it's at Delta, and then, then it's actually still on its way in. We didn't even know where the plane was. These guys knew where the plane was at, early in the morning for an afternoon flight.
That is quite something.
Yeah, and for the likes of us, that might go over a lot of people's heads, like, okay, cool. But it gives you that sense of security. What's weird is you get a message and you see it's from an airline, this time being Airlink. But the first thought that goes through your head is, oh shit, we delayed.
Yeah. Because we've experienced it a
because
couple
like
of times.
they will message you if you delayed. But no, it's no talk of delay. That's your gate.
Wow.
So I was pretty impressed with that. When I got to the airport, the no masks, Ryan.
That's got to be like one of the best things right now.
It's so cool. I mean, I just couldn't stand those masks. What amazed me is how many people are still wearing the bloody masks.
Yeah, you still see that. I mean, even in the shops, in your day-to-day activities, people I think have grown used to it, and look, rightfully so. I mean, if that's what makes them feel comfortable. But
that's what makes them tick. It's fine. But
I couldn't wait to jettison that thing. Eh?
Yeah, that was such a nice thing to walk into the airport. Walk straight up to the Airlink counter. The usual story there. I mean, no real difference. Friendly staff, checked in the bag. Of course, it's a full-service airline, so there's none of this buying a checked-in bag. It's just a one-stop thing. And when you've got like an overseas colleague like I did, it's so easy to do it that way. You just buy, a one-off ticket, comes with everything, and off you go. So from there, everything was good. Couldn't complain. But where the real difference comes in is when you get on the aircraft, and that 190 really is a nice machine on the inside. The seats are comfortable, the cabin crew are friendly, and Ryan, we spend so much time paxing. You don't make a real fuss of the food or even the fact that there's wine and beer and that available.
Yeah, because when you're paxing, you're not allowed
to touch that stuff anyway. So it's something you almost like disregard. But traveling as a passenger, it's actually quite nice, if you're on like a business trip like we were, to have a glass of wine and have a chat about how things are going. And that was very cool. The food was awesome. And Ryan, I cannot fault that first sector in any way, shape or form. It was excellent. And I got off that aircraft and thought, these oaks are setting a standard here.
Yeah.
Coming back, same thing. You know what you don't consider as well. I was traveling with a colleague, so sitting next to her, 1-1. Hey, what a pleasure. Yeah. There's no fat bastard next to you there. and that makes a difference.
Of course.
And if you're traveling by yourself, you might get one fat bastard sitting next to you, not two. And it's like the right size. It's just got a nice feel. It looks decently big inside. I mean, a non-aviator wouldn't know that that's not a 737. It just feels spacious. And
really?
Yeah. So I kind of like that whole 2x2 seating.
Heard that the Embraer 190s are quite quiet as well.
Quiet, man.
Really?
Very, very quiet. Yeah, very quiet. I'd been in I think Hop had in France.
I've never been in one.
I've been in once. So been in one before, but this very quiet, really? Very pleasant. Bit of turbulence on the way down there because of the jet streams and whatnot. But all in all, excellent. When you check in, so obviously, 24 hours before you can check in.
Yeah.
Basically, they send you the message. You click the little link. The link opens up a page. You have to confirm, what you're carrying, if you're carrying firearm and shit like that, which you're not.
Yeah.
So you tick that box, and then it says, do you want to change your seats? Yes. Very easy. Change your seats. Enter. How do you want your boarding pass delivered? And the one option that is so easy is the option of the Apple Wallet that's there.
Really?
So you click Apple Wallet, it's in your Apple Wallet, and off you go.
Right up our alley, huh?
Yeah.
What a pleasure, man.
Airlink was superb in every way. And you know what made it even better? Before I departed, a guy contacted me on LinkedIn, a guy that's, watches us on the show, Greg Smith.
Oh, yeah.
And he shot me a message that says, what time you flying, who because, he might be on the flight.
Oh, really?
He might be the captain. And unfortunately, he wasn't the captain. He wasn't on those flights. So he told me, listen, he's not doing that flight. But I'm sure you're going to have an awesome experience.
Yeah.
So that's how confident their staff are of their own product. I mean, he was 100% confident that I would arrive there on time, I'd have a good experience, and that says something. as small as that might seem, it shows there's a vote of confidence there in their own product, which I thought was really cool.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, if you think back about how many guys we actually know that work for Airlink, and I actually enjoy this conversation because it's the first time I'm getting a sort of first-hand review on what it was like from a passenger's perspective on Airlink. I'm so used to the crew, like you said, the pilots or any staff member that works for Airlink, they're quite proud of the brand at the moment. They really are, happy to be associated. And like you said, there's confidence in the fact that they can promote the airline, which is quite something. I mean, we've said it before. I think that's what we lacked a little bit towards the end of our time at our previous airline. It was you didn't have the confidence in being able to be proud of the brand that you work for. And that's cool. I mean, that's quite something.
It was cool. To basically say you're going to have a good flight regardless of...
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, and that was really nice. And I was thinking about what do we call today's show? I was trying to come up with ideas. Something like a world-class airline, Airlink or whatever. It's not world-class. It's not world-class. We've traveled around the world. We've been on big airlines around the world.
Yeah.
And they are rubbish compared to what that was. That was comfortable. The food was excellent. The wine was good. The coffee was hot. The plane arrived ahead of schedule on both sectors. It was exceptional.
So, touching on that, I think we've spoken about it a couple of times in various shows that we've done, but I mean, we've always argued about who is South Africa's flag carrier at the moment. And if I remember correctly, you've always said Airlink by far. They are the flag carrier right now. Eh?
Ryan, at AviaDev there, people were, a lot of the talk was, how did you get here? And I said, no, Airlink. Yeah, that's why you're here. And there was a couple of remarks. I had to laugh. Shawn Mendes was speaking at one point there, and he said, making a bit of a joke about our proper flag carrier, that some of their guys didn't get there on time because the flight was delayed. So, look, they're our premier airline. There's no question about it. There's absolutely no question about it. They're a different airline to the likes of like a Safair.
Yes.
And I suppose they're a full service airline.
So that's what separates them.
That's what separates them.
And the full service versus low cost.
Yeah. And bearing in mind, I'm certainly not saying they, don't fly on Safair, fly on Airlink. I'm saying there's actually room for both.
Yeah.
There's that full service, it depends what you want. That initial ticket price might be a couple of $100 more.
So in other words, value for money.
It's good value for money, and it's that on-time performance thing, Ryan, is such an important thing these days. People do not want to be delayed. You do not want to be hanging around Joburg Airport for any longer than you absolutely have to. Hey.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll probably touch on that a little bit later on in conversation because we'll talk about that. What's happened in the States, for instance. But 100%, you want to have that reassurance and that confidence that you get to the airport, you'll get to where you want to go as you've planned. It's very, very important.
It is.
People have got plans. Time is money, and people don't have time to waste.
If you haven't tried them, try them out. That is my Bryan Air advisory for today. Because the experience was just so good. That's awesome. And even my colleague from France was like, this is awesome.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's magic.
Well done, Airlink.
Yeah, proud of you guys, and it's awesome to be able to really talk so positively about a local airline.
And thanks, Greg, for getting hold of me beforehand, because that really was the cherry on top. Made everything very cool.
Quick question.
Yo.
What's it like now at the airports? Because, I haven't flown anywhere since 2020. So I haven't been anywhere near a terminal building. When you look out on the apron, especially in today's times, what's the apron look like? Must just be Safair, Link, Semi.
It is so dominated. It's just so dominated by Airlink.
Really?
It's just heavily dominated by Airlink. I mean, Cape Town in the morning on Sunday morning was just an Airlink fest. Really? I mean, it was just Link aircraft everywhere.
Wow.
The odd, semi-aircraft there, and Safair obviously weren't there yet in the morning. They're probably on their way in still.
Yeah.
But it's really, the look of the apron has changed. There's no orange aircraft around. There's I did not, in my 2 days of traveling there, so travel down on Wednesday, back on the Sunday, I did not see an SAA aircraft at all.
One of the 3 that are
but it's a
operating.
factor. You see all those aircraft, and you can only just imagine that the growth of Airlink and then it's just going to get more and more, because it's this sort of knock-on effect. You see the aircraft. Why so many people flying with them? Well, maybe because they're good. Let me give them a go. So, no, excellent. Yeah, it really is. But it to answer your question, the look is different on the apron. The look really is different, and
I can just imagine it. I mean, I left Samira the other day, and I noticed while driving from here till where I actually turn off onto the R21 to go home, in that sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes that I spend on that stretch of road, you get a decent view of all the aircraft joining final approach runway 21 here in Joburg. And in that space, I think I saw 4 airplanes, and all 4 were Airlink Aries in succession.
Yeah.
This is like an indication of how busy they are and the frequency of their flights. So,
and that's what's so amazing about the OTP.
Yeah.
Because there are so many flights, to keep that high level of OTP is quite remarkable.
No, it is. They've got to be doing something right.
They're doing something right. Look, the airlines that are flying at the moment here locally all have a lot to be proud of, and it almost looks like for the first time there is a sort of a level playing field. I mean, Seme are punching way above their weight as well. Next time we travel around, we're going to go on Seme to do a bit of a review on them as well, because
they certainly are becoming a worthy contender in the market. I mean,
they really are. They're an option, and they're a full service airline as well. They're not a low cost airline.
Yeah.
They fly nice aircraft, and they fly to a lot of destinations as well, and it's just expanding so rapidly on them as well. So we are going to travel on Airlink next. My suggestion is that we club 2 tickets, you and I, down to Durbs.
Listen,
at some point in the next couple of weeks.
Shoot
there in the morning, go to Umhlanga, have a couple of cold ones, and then crawl back to the airport and fly back to Johannesburg, just to check it out, because we got so many ex-colleagues are there. I want to actually, Seme are going to do well.
Yeah.
Ryan, we'll talk about AviaDev a little bit later. The Seme guys they're such hard workers. Miles has got a lot of time for a lot of people, and he's always ready to talk, and he's just got a real can-do attitude. Yeah, they are going to grow more, and I got a lot of time for those oaks. Got a lot of time for that airline, and
look, I mean, I think they've been through a lot, and they've survived a lot, and they are continuing to grow, which is something to be proud of.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a quick trip down to Durbs, a couple of beers and a bunny chow.
Yeah.
You got my digits, bro.
Hey, let's do it. A couple of weeks' time, we'll go. Yeah. Should we jump into some local news before we talk about AviaDev and that? Because AviaDev obviously takes up quite a lot of the certain African side, but there is a little bit more news locally here that we can chat about. You mentioned in the intro there, EASA exams.
Yeah. So 43 Air School have just received the approval by EASA to offer EASA exams in South Africa. So it's becoming a thing.
It's becoming a
There's
real
actually a bit of competition now within the South African market now for guys to write EASA exams, which is...
You've got a choice.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean,
that's...
And, it's just building up to what we're going to speak about a little bit later again in the show, but... I think that EASA license is going to be a worthwhile arsenal in your list of aviation tools to have.
It certainly is.
Because by the sounds of it, they need pilots.
To take away from what the actual article said, new EASA solution offers candidates 100% remote learning EASA solution supplemented with live online modules. It'll go a long way to assisting ICAO licensed individuals to convert their license to EASA and opens up that world of jobs you're speaking about there. Exams are conducted online using iPads. So same like what Easy Pilots are doing.
Yeah.
Options runs, options.
Yeah.
And results available immediately. In addition to the material, 43 will also offer an additional online EASA question bank on the pilot exams global portal. So that's it.
Yeah.
If you want that information, go check it out on 43's LinkedIn page. That's where I found it.
Yeah. No, it's great to see that there's just more options for guys in SA. We need it. And it's exciting because it's going to create the opportunities that the guys need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next bit of news, Toto Investment Holdings. They're a little bit miffed at the whole SAA version 2 and Takatso deal. They're saying it's invalid and they want that looked at.
Yeah.
So whether something comes of that. But this is it's a legitimate question. The guy's name is Gagaba, so I was wondering, is that old Pilot Gagaba? Or is that another Gagaba?
There's only one Gagaba.
But that's so keep an eye on that. I didn't in that article I wasn't aware, but the that DPE Director General Takatso Takludi, like that lied to certainly about the SAC stuff.
Yes.
He is suspended from office. He was suspended on June 24th, pending disciplinary proceedings.
Shame, man.
Yeah, poor.
Was it? He was obviously suspended with pay, huh?
Well, 100%.
Yeah.
When do they suspend without pay?
My deepest sympathies, man, and I hope you get through this difficult time, and just stay strong, bro.
Yeah, so he's the matter has been referred to the Minister of Justice and the Correctional Services. I don't know what that's about, but I mean, he just lied through his teeth, certainly about the SA Express stuff, and whenever I saw him on the TV.
So
whatever.
Best of
condolences, bro.
Yeah.
Kenya Airways and its South African compatriot teamed up in November last year to sign that strategic partnership.
Okay.
Bit of talk about that at AviaDev as well.
Really?
Yeah, Simon Newton-Smith spoke about that.
Been going on for a while. Is there anything coming of that?
Well, remember Brett was still on the podcast. It was a while back. In fact, it was right at the beginning. It must have been one of our early episodes. He spoke about the Yamoussoukro declaration. You thought it was a Kawasaki motorbike.
I thought it was a motorbike.
And, we spoke about it then as if it was a sort of new deal. One of the things that came up at AviaDev was you can have all these meetings and declarations that you want.
Yeah.
If you don't go and actually take action on them, nothing will ever happen. Now, this Yamoussoukro decision, if I'm pronouncing it wrong, then I don't care. But anyway, it's 20 years old, Ryan. It's 2 decades old.
No way.
It's a 20-year-old deal. And you always see these pictures of, the delegates all go to some fancy place, normally a fancy island somewhere. They take an awesome photograph and nothing ever happens.
Yeah. Well,
it's a real African
way of doing
it. Have one more of a party and, opening ceremony, and then you can't ever see eye to eye and nothing ever comes of it. So I'm not saying nothing will come of this. The way that Simon Newton-Smith spoke about it was pretty positive, that it looked like it is going to happen. But, we'll have to see. Moving international a bit before we get to that AviaDev.
Yeah.
Did you see the Emirates 380 that picked up a bit of a hole in the side of the fuselage?
Gee whiz. Yeah. A shame. I mean, there was a lot of heat in the news about...
Why was there heat there?
No, because like I was saying, well, why didn't the pilots turn back?
But you didn't know he had a hole in
You wouldn't know, because where that hole was, there you'd get no indication, and it obviously wasn't part of a pressurized part of the airplane, so there was no pressurization issues or whatever.
Yeah, no
they
way
just
of knowing.
cracked on. I mean, an A380 is so big, a tire pops, you probably don't hear it.
No.
And
it popped inside the well, hey? Was that the story?
Yeah, I couldn't quite pick it, because if that was the case, I don't know how the debris got to where it was. But anyway, I mean, like, I'm not an engineer or anything, but yeah, I mean, the guys cracked on. There's no ways a crew would fly an airplane all the way from Dubai to, where were they going? Melbourne.
Yeah, somewhere.
Wherever.
Somewhere in Oz.
But there's no ways a responsible crew would fly an airplane with
Brisbane,
a known problem.
Going.
Yeah, Brisbane. Yeah, sorry. And I knew it was somewhere there in
Australia.
where they build the Rodecaster
Yeah.
Pro 2.
Thanks, Rode.
But, so, yeah, on landing, they got a bit of a surprise, and that's it,
Yeah.
Happens.
Happens.
Yeah. Far worse has happened, but, yeah.
22 tires that beast has got.
Yeah, that's a
Pretty hectic.
big area.
SAS Scandinavian, they filed for Chapter 11.
Yeah.
So when the pilots mentioned, was it pilots that were going to strike, or was it cabin crew?
It was pilots.
When pilots mentioned the strike was happening, they said, right, now's the time to call it. So they're in Chapter 11 there.
Yeah, look.
Chaos in Europe.
No.
The UK airlines, chaos, man.
It's hectic, man.
The States, obviously, but, Ryanair flight attendants in Spain, they've announced, they did announce 12 days of July strikes, crew demanding better working conditions and pay. Ryanair claimed that disruptions would be minimal. They weren't. There's been lots of delays. Charles de Gaulle, workers in France walked out on Friday and Saturday. 10% of the flights were cancelled. O'Leary went and warned that the low-cost carrier model right now is actually unsustainable as all these costs start to rise. You take into account these increases and fuel and all the rest. There's major... The model doesn't really fit. The puzzle pieces don't fit.
I actually wanted to ask you the question earlier when we were talking about what's going on here in South Africa. I mean, people are, like you said, you more all of a sudden pro Airlink in a way, or pro anything that's not low cost because of the security you get with your ticket. There's no surprises.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to ask you the question before we've changed gears, but I'm getting the vibe that the low cost carrier model is definitely not suiting most travelers, especially now post-COVID. People don't want the surprise of, oh shit, when you get to the airport, well, I paid €8 for my ticket, but now I've got to pay €250 for my bags. And
yeah,
there's something going on there.
I think there's room for both. I mean, it depends what you want.
Yeah.
But the model of so much these days is based around a low cost model. You can go and we're deciding where should we go grab a bite to eat earlier. Go to the low cost MacD's. Or there's a lot of low cost options around these days, and I think we kind of like let's maybe pay just a little bit more and not have to do that low cost, even if it's a stigma or slight branding around it. I don't quite know how to even talk about it, but it's they're two very separate models.
Yeah,
and it depends entirely what you want. But like O'Leary says, the model has to work, and right now, the low cost model is not working so well. No doubt they'll get it to work well. I mean, but one has to take it into consideration. The jump in fees for everything has just gone mad. If you throw supply chain issues in there as well.
Hey, man. A
normal business can't survive, never mind a bloody airline.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, the oil price is hurting everyone globally.
Yeah.
So that's a big factor. And the airlines can't absorb all of that as well as still try and recover from everything that's happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's understandable. And, we're talking about staff shortages and airlines being reluctant to increase pay, particularly in Europe. It's a big thing now. The guys are very unhappy about what they are earning versus how much they're working.
Yeah.
And I was spending a bit of time thinking about it. Like, are these guys being unreasonable, or do they have something to whinge about?
Yeah,
because
it wasn't that long ago before we were all whinging that there were no jobs.
Yeah, now guys are getting overworked and underpaid, and I'm thinking, well, it's still early days, guys.
You know what I think it is, Ryan? I think it's more of an element where the guys and girls, pilots in particular, and I suppose the cabin crew union certainly realize that this is a bit of a watershed moment. And if they don't do something about the direction it's going, they're flying a lot of hours, and the pay is obviously not shot up the way they want. If they don't do something about it now, they're never going to get back on they're not going to claw back that lost time. And this is just going to be a given. And how long can airlines play the card? Well, 6 months, a year ago, you didn't have a job. Now you got a job. Just be thankful.
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're still flying. The guys are tired, and you wonder how long it will be before that sort of ripples down to South Africa, and you start hearing the union rumblings of.
I think it's coming. I think it's coming.
So.
Look, I just think it's an interesting conundrum. You know, like you say, 2 years ago, everybody was desperate for flying jobs or to be.
You would almost fly for free.
Exactly. You know, you fly for food literally, and now things have happened very quickly, and the scales are tipping. Like you say, you got a valid point. You want to still preserve something of what you had without feeling exploited.
Yeah.
But the airlines are still in a recovery phase.
Very much so.
It's just to say, not to say like there's a summer travel period now, and there's a big boom. We're going into winter soon, and so the airlines have to bolster their reserves.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if there's another, I don't know, some other issue that arises from whatever? So it's an interesting.
It is
conversation.
Something
I'm not picking sides.
It's not going to be the last conversation we have about this going forward. There's no question.
It's crazy.
A Ryanair's issue as well, that O'Leary went and slammed the UK government about Brexit as well, because he's got all that nonsense to deal with.
Yeah.
He can't access staff like he could before.
Yeah.
So they've got that compounding their issues. EasyJet's chief has resigned as well. So that's because of the delays.
Yeah.
So many delays, someone had to get their head chopped off. And it was their chief operating officer, the COO, jumped ship there. And because of those delays, the delays are because of the shortages. Have you seen Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, the queue to get through security?
It's berserk.
There are tents outside.
Yeah.
There are tents where people are waiting to get into that airport. They cannot get into that airport.
Yes.
It's just, the pictures are quite, I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
But you can't get into the airport. So the airlines are actually diverting flights away from that. It's a major, major hub. The airlines are trying to not fly there. I mean, a lot of them going to Rotterdam and things like that. But yeah, it's just crazy. Like, how did this happen? I mean, we were longing for these flights. Now they're there and we can't cope. But what did they think, Ryan? What did the airlines think, and what did the airports think? What was going to happen? This was inevitable.
Yeah. Well, it was. Like I say, the corona hoax came and it pulled the pants down on the world. And, like we mentioned before, the recovery's come around a lot faster than everybody anticipated. And, I suppose it'll be interesting to see how we deal with things in the next year or so.
South Africa, you mean? Or do you mean the industry?
Globally, the industry.
Well, the industry's been so whacked by it now that it's like a sink or swim situation. I mean, they have to do something. They can't have these lines at Amsterdam like they're having. They're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
Whether it's improve the process of getting into the airport and whatnot, but it's Europe's third biggest airport, and it looks like an absolute dog show. British Airways, they cancelled 76,000 seats out of Heathrow. That affected 105,000 holidaymakers. Reason? Staff shortages. Nuts, man.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
It really, really is ludicrous. I mean, you look at what's happening in the States as well now.
Oh, man.
They're trying to incentivize pilots by saying, listen, we'll pay you, 3 times your salary if you just volunteer to fly during off time.
Yeah.
So the summer travel period across the Northern Hemisphere has gone tilt. And I mean, you're trying to incentivize crew, saying, I'll pay you 50% extra to fly on your off days, or whatever the case may be. That's saying something.
But then you're still working for your money. How's this?
Yeah.
These Delta passengers the other day. There was a flight, Delta flight 3550, operated by SkyWest from Michigan to Minneapolis, patiently waiting for their gate when the crew and customer service agent announced that the flight was oversold. They ran an opening bid, $5,000 US cash for 8 volunteers to give up their seats and hop on a later flight. Unfortunately, there were no takers. Delta increased its bid to $7,500 US. Again, no takers. Bearing in mind, they made an announcement to say, listen, if you have Apple Pay, the money will be in your account immediately. They'll put it in so it'll get transferred via Apple Pay immediately. By the time most passengers boarded, the airline upped the bid to a whopping $10,000 each for 8 volunteers. The offer being to simply get on a later flight.
And people wouldn't budge.
$10,000. I believe that the passengers got off then, and 8 of them got off. They took the $10,000 into the Apple Pay. Thank you very much. Go buy yourself something nice from duty free. Hop on a later flight.
This is funny.
It's nuts, man.
It's actually gonna
$10,000 US.
Became a bit of an auction.
Yeah, it became an auction.
We'll pay you to get off.
They could not get people to get off the aircraft. And that's a legit story. I read it twice. I'm not making it up.
10,000 US.
Yeah.
So if that was you and I, that would be a combined 20,000 US.
Yeah.
Do you know how much cool shit we could buy for our studio with that kind of money?
No, man. But that's the reality of if you sell tickets and you see the penalties that the airlines are going to go through are getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
You can't. Right, there are staff shortages. There's airport shortages. Baggage handlers, all the rest. The airlines know about them. So if you sell a ticket, you're selling that ticket knowing that there's a shortage, and the governments and that are coming. They're knocking the airlines hard to say you can't do that.
Yeah,
can't make a person go wait. You know there's a shortage. What are you doing about it? Don't sell the ticket then.
Yeah.
And this is the difficulty where the airlines are saying, hang on, let's try and solve the problem. The next flight is empty. Let's get the passengers on that flight.
So it's cheaper to pay passengers like up to $10,000.
I don't understand.
In an extreme,
Ryan,
rather than face penalties.
I don't understand it. I assume that, the penalties were greater than that little incentive that they were offering there.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty nuts.
That's berserk.
That's nuts.
I didn't think we'd be talking about this kind of stuff 2 years ago.
It's pretty remarkable. It's pretty cool that we are talking about it. But I tell you what, if they offered me on my Link flight the other day 160,000 ZAR to stay in Cape Town for an extra day,
sign me up.
I would have said,
take it.
No problem.
You let me stay for 5 days.
Yeah, quite crazy.
But it's interesting. The passenger's perspective. People. They don't have time to sit around and wait. They want to get to where they're going. They want that reliability.
On-time performance. You buy a ticket on an airline because you want to arrive, take off a certain time, arrive at a certain time, and go and do what you're going to do, be it a holiday or your business trip, whatever.
No, I understand it. I mean, especially being a dad now of young children, you go away on a business trip. It's not like you've gone away for pleasure. So you promise your kiddies that you're going to be home on Sunday afternoon, to take them for an ice cream or whatever. You want to be home because you do not want to break that promise. So I guess from an average traveler's perspective, that makes sense. Absolutely.
It does. Some manufacturing news, China Eastern, China Southern, and Air China. They've signed an agreement for 292 A320 Neos. So a lot of Airbuses on the way to China.
Yeah.
And deliveries expected next year through to 227, which is good. Yeah. Staying with Airbus, 380s, they're back in the air.
Hey, they are pumping.
They're pumping. BA, China Southern, Emirates, Qantas, Qatar, Singapore, they're all operating their 380s, soon to be followed by ANA and South Korea, Korean Air and Asiana. Lufthansa, even last week, their CEO announced they're going to have to bring back the 380.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Everyone
Airbus as a whole, the A220. I see Air France have just taken delivery of their 10th A220, and they're loving the type.
I believe Air France are ditching the 320 and just going for 220s.
Yeah. It obviously works at the moment.
Awesome aeroplane.
A lovely aeroplane.
Yeah.
Obviously, because it was initially designed by Bombardier, which is a proper brand.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But very cool to see 380s back. Yes. And again, lends itself to what was everyone thinking, that they're not going to be 380s flying. It looks like these things are going to be flying for the next long time. I mean, all evidence shows that you need the capacity.
I don't have it saved here, but I came across an article very briefly the other day where I think it said something along the lines of Clark from Emirates mentioned that if he could build an airplane double the size of the A380 right now, he would.
Yeah.
So that's saying something.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Hong quarantine news. So you see, Cathay, they confirm that they will be operating their cargo at pre-pandemic levels this month.
I've seen that.
Cool, eh?
Yeah, look, cargo has just gone.
And when Hong Kong is operating at that level, then you can be confident that the turnaround is a real thing.
Yeah.
And has happened. It has happened.
It absolutely has.
Story of the week.
I'm ready for it.
Definitely AviaDev.
Yeah.
My first one. I got to meet John in real life. Was very, very cool. And thank you to John for getting me in there. And I really enjoyed it. Cape Town on Wednesday when we arrived.
Yeah.
On that flawless link flight, we arrived in a flawless Cape Town.
Really?
It was beautiful. 24 degrees. There was not a breath of wind and there was not a cloud in the sky. My colleague, originally from Lithuania, lived there most of her life, now lives at close to Charles de Gaulle. She could not believe what she was seeing here.
Really?
Yeah, it was proper. Jumped in the car, took her around Cape Town, and Cape Town, yeah, when Cape Town has the weather right and the vibe is just, it's so different to Joburg.
Yeah, Cape Town knows how to show itself.
It does. It was showing off. Yeah. It really was showing off. We watched the sunset there. Took my colleague through to the waterfront. Showed her around the waterfront there. Shocked at this country and this place. And yeah, it was really amazing. And then, of course, the next day off to AviaDev. You know, we went there on wearing very much our Sim Aero hats. We were trying to sort of look at what's the vibe of African aviation. What's happening. So we wouldn't really go there to try and sign deals and that, but we wanted to gauge the atmosphere.
Yeah. And
John puts on one hell of a show.
You mentioned that. Certainly in the pictures, it looked like it was an outstanding event.
It was excellent. Yeah, the way he had set up the stage and the whole feel about everything, the little gifts you got, and yeah, thanks John for these.
Yeah. Water bottles.
And very, 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 very nice, world class, absolutely excellent. But what was so cool to see was the vibe of the people, because everyone is involved in aviation and travel.
Yeah.
And there's just this level of excitement. There's a real element of, this is it, now's the time.
Also because this is like one of the first events aviation-wise to take place,
Yeah.
Since things have become back to normal.
Yeah, and the timing was impeccable.
Yeah.
I mean, masks were ditched the week before,
Yeah.
and Cape Town was showing off its weather. So
Magic.
It was just this really fantastic
Vibe.
setup for this event. Hosted there by in Carnival City sort of area there. Very, very nice. And yeah, really, really top notch event. So well done to John there. All business to business marketing. So they're trying to tie in the airlines with the airports with the airlines, and get meetings going and basically network. I mean, you're walking around networking. The nice thing about a networking event is that everyone is open to being spoken to. It's not like being called by a Vodacom call center, at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, asking you if you want to buy 5 gigs of data at the end of the month because, some stupid moron is, But it really, really open environment where you can walk up to anyone and go and have a chat. So that was excellent. Thoroughly enjoyed it. No question I'm going to be back for next year, wherever John has it. I hope it's in Cape Town again. Because Cape Town's the best city in the world. Cape Town is the best city in the world. I'm convinced about that. It really is just spectacular. John summed it up at the beginning. Right at the beginning, he was on stage and he had a bit of a talk there, introduction talk. And he said the appetite for travel is back, and it's perhaps recovering faster than we can cope with.
Yeah.
And that sums up what we've sort of spoken about today. The recovery is so fast that, we actually can't deal with it. And the other thing that John said that was just on point, and you would relate to this, Ryan. He said, it's never been easier to create an online connection, but never more difficult to build real in-person relationships.
Oh, yes.
And that's what that event is all about. So you meet these people online, and then you go there and you meet them in real life. And it's kind of cool, actually. A couple of characters that come to mind. I mean, Miles van der Molen, certainly a real character, a different type of guy in real life. Met Miles before. But Shawn Mendes, another guy that sticks out. Shawn's a hell of a character. I wouldn't mind, having a few drinks with Shawn at some point because he's got some stories.
I'm sure.
And, so it's nice to actually engage with these guys in a real life scenario.
Yeah.
But the optimism around our industry is there. It's deep rooted, and it's only going in one direction. And that is up, man, because it was very, very positive. You could just feel the energy amongst everyone. So awesome. AviaDev was excellent. Some hot topics of discussion for me that I picked out, things that have been affecting us here from a business perspective. Visas, people battling to get visas. Okay, everyone is battling. Shawn made the comment that for him to get a visa from Malawi, he's got to apply for one to get to South Africa. If he wants to go to Europe, he's got to come to South Africa first. Then he's got to hop across to, then he can apply for a Schengen when he's here. So he's got to apply for 2 visas to get to one destination.
Really?
It's like a real African scenario.
Jeez.
But us, I need to go to France later in the year. And I was told that the nearest appointment I can get for a visa is in September.
You're joking?
Yeah. Visas are a major problem going outbound, but a major problem coming inbound. We know here at the Sim Center, the visa issues is nuts, man.
And is there any particular reason for that?
There's all the bullshit stories that you get, the usual the stuff. A lot of these, I think the Home Affairs is just probably crumbled at some point. And there's talk of e-visas.
Oh, yeah?
E-visas are definitely on the cards.
Yeah, well, that can't come sooner enough.
Oh, but we need it, Ryan. The effect that it's having is massive. Now, the city of Cape Town, you got this Cape Town Air Access. They sponsored the AviaDev event, and you can tell that tourism is something that is much more in our control at the moment. It's it attracts foreign currency, and that's such a big
it's like the one commodity that South Africa has that hasn't
it's tangible.
Really been it hasn't been affected by the powers that can
even like with
manipulate it. Yeah.
Even with Eskom trying their hardest to destroy the country, people are still coming in. There were still tourists there in Cape Town, and tourism is going to play a significant role going forward. So, visas a hot topic. The whole tourism sector hot topic. They spoke about the masks. The masks played a role. Yeah, no masks, it helps. Fuel prices, of course, a topic. They're going up. What do we do about that? Spoken about. O'Leary saying that the model doesn't even work with the prices that way.
Yeah, look, fuel prices aren't just a problem here in South Africa.
Everywhere.
It's a global issue. Yeah. And, it's just something we're going to have to
get used to.
Yeah.
Simon Newton-Smith spoke there at the event. He was part of a sort of a panel. There were one or two little sniggering laughs when he had to say a couple of things. Obviously, he's the SAA, I think he's the chief commercial officer, something like that. But he spoke very well, I must be said. And he spoke a lot about.
Was he the one that didn't make it on time?
No, he was on time.
Okay,
he was on time. He probably flew there on Link or Safari. But spoke about the customer and connectivity. Yeah, it's all about the customer. A little remark that he made, and I noticed at the AGM in Doha, the Kenyan CEO said exactly the same thing. So they obviously checked their stories together beforehand. But you mentioned the 18% of the population in Africa, total population, but only 2% of the air linkages come from Africa. So that was a little number he threw out there. 18% of the population, quite big, but only 2% of the air linkages actually come out of Africa. So, yeah, a little comment there.
Yeah.
Roger Foster dispelled that pretty quickly the next day
Yeah.
in a few comments by him that I'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Room for growth, obviously, there. When asked about the Kenyan collab with SAA, whether it's going to happen, he very much spoke like it is going to happen. And how it's going to happen, he made reference to the connection between Delta and Virgin. Delta in America stayed Delta, and Virgin in the UK stayed Virgin. So they were in JV, I believe, but they kept their brands separate.
Okay.
And that did make sense. So the local people want to fly on their local airline.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that probably rings true more for the Kenyans than it does for the South Africans.
It certainly does. I think it probably does. But anyway, nonetheless, that was the plan there. The highlights of the sort of event for me from a taking content away point of view was when Roger Foster spoke in his panel. He says there are too many airlines in Africa. There's 300 or something airlines in Africa.
Yeah, I'd have to agree, actually.
I would agree too.
You know, there are. I mean, there's a lot of airlines, a lot of small airlines, and everybody's fighting for the same piece of the pie.
Yep.
And
but compare it to China. There's 5 in China. There's 5 in India.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And there's sort of 300 in Africa. It's pretty remarkable. So he says there's actually too much capacity in our current economic environment. Sure, there's spikes Easter weekend. Doesn't matter how many aircraft you put on there, you're going to be full. But those are spikes. And, consider the fact we've lost SAA, Saks, Mango, and now Comair. And we're still talking about, these things. It's evident that, that the industry needs to be sustainable.
Yeah.
So he spoke about sustainability a lot, affordability, reliability. And, he speaks with a lot of sense, and you kind of inclined to think, well, this is why they're seeing the success now, was because they made the right decisions with the right people at the helm years ago.
Well,
and they could see this whole thing playing out. And, this in light of another mention made to, they've just signed that code share with Qatar.
Yeah.
Qatar is known to be the best airline in the world, and it operates out of the best airport in the world. And what better partner could the likes of Airlink want at the moment than that? They're connecting their existing customers through the Doha hub to anywhere they want to go in the world.
Yeah.
So Airlink, Ryan, you said it earlier, are they our national carrier? They would never agree that they're the national carrier. They'd probably steer away from that as much as they can. They make reference quite a lot to their own brand.
Yeah.
But they're South Africa's or Africa's premier airline for sure, man.
Of course, look, I mean, there's a lot to be said. They've just turned 30. I think it was a week or 2 weeks ago that they were celebrating their 30th anniversary.
Yes.
And 30 years in this industry, and let's face it, what this industry has been through in the last 30 years. Let's talk about, 9/11 and all the bullshit in between. And they're still going, and to look at where they are now, look, you don't get there by being a fool.
No.
You obviously know how to manage an airline and run things properly. So, proof is in the pudding, man.
Yeah, there was a lot of good talks through the whole thing, and but all in all, nice to be there. Cape Town was an excellent host.
Yeah.
John's an excellent host. The food was superb. If you weren't there next year and you're thinking about should I go, I highly recommend it. The networking alone I took a whole wad of business cards, and within day one they were gone.
Yeah. So next year,
cool.
include me in the itinerary, please.
Yeah.
I had a bit of FOMO.
Yeah, you did, but someone had to look after shop while I was having a jaw in Cape
Next year,
Town.
give that to someone else.
Yeah.
I'm coming on the jaw with you.
Another word to mention, what was quite cool. So this is all going on in quite a big hall, and obviously outside the hall is where the sort of meetings take place and food is served and whatnot. So I took a bit of a break through one of the talks. I went outside and went to the one corner, and in the one corner was like a real semi setup, Shanil Singh was outside there with his computer, and Miles was marching up and down this hall, making phone calls. They had set up their office there, and they were grafting. And I went out. There was a gala evening on the Thursday evening, and Shanil was there. I had a good chat with him. We should get him on the show sometime because he's got some awesome stories about Miles and Seme, and I think he was certainly their first employee in Johannesburg.
Really, eh?
But yeah, what a good oak, and shout out to him, and thanks for making it a fun evening, because some really funny stories, and you just want to support them because they're a cool bunch of guys and they're going places. Ryan, they are growing rapidly. I mean, CRJs, bigger ones coming.
More Q400s.
CRJ 1000s, more Qs, more 900s, more Dash 8s, more destinations.
Wow.
So keep a lookout there, and they're not stopping.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's
very impressive.
Way to go.
Very impressive. So yeah, next flight, same air.
Yeah, let's go and grab that bunny chow and derbs, man.
Let's do it.
I'm ready for it.
Some special mentions this week. I just want to mention John Howell again. Thanks for getting me in to AviaDev. John, thanks for supporting the show. John's a bit of a celeb in the aviation world.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
and he
can. Yeah, excellent. So yeah, thanks again, John. A mate of ours, certainly a mate of mine, online mate as well, Nishav Nirmal. Hope I've got his name right. He just got his command at SAF.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, congrats, Nishav.
So Nishav was a Spuri's FO. Yeah, the Spuri's FO, you had to be an FO for like 25 years before they considered you for a command position. So it's cool to see these guys getting their commands nice and quickly. Very, very cool. Thanks, well done there.
Yeah, awesome, man.
And some sadder news, ex-colleague of ours, Brad Manson, passed away earlier in the week.
Yeah, shame.
Ex-colleague.
Brad had been suffering for a long time from an illness, and condolences to his family and friends. Very sad to see his passing.
Yeah.
And he will be remembered.
He will. Yeah. So shout out to Brad's friends and family. Bit of a call to action from our side. If you like the show and you like the new setup, you like the sound video, and you think someone you know might enjoy it, then please share it along. It actually helps.
Yeah.
Helps with the reach of the show. If you got to this stage, you must have enjoyed it. So share it with someone, whether it's on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening or watching. It'll actually help us. So, we'll be back next week, of course, for the weekly show. I did miss the 1 week, and I do apologize, but it won't happen too often.
Yeah, we'll try not to let things like ESCOM get in the way on too many occasions. It was a bit of a hack, and it left a bit of a gap, but yeah, it was great fun today. Thoroughly enjoyed it, cuz.
Certainly did.
Look forward to the next one, man.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
As always, thank you, pal.
Cheers, bud.
Cheers, bud.